Hi, I'm Betty Busby. We're going to talk about photographing your 3D work right now. This is my extremely humble abode, my crappy design wall. You're going to need photo lights, which are available very cheaply. I will give you links to all of these things in an attached document, so you don't need to worry about where to get things right now. I've chosen a simple, about 2 foot tall thing to photograph. And we're going to use several yards of felt as backing. Now you can use anything for your backdrop that you want, but it really should be smooth without wrinkles. So that's challenging for me to use fabric because pretty much all fabric gets wrinkles immediately. And this also doesn't show dog hair as much, so I do tend to use felt quite a bit. It's also very wide. You do want something that is much larger than the piece you want to photograph. So I'm going to pin the top of this felt to my design wall right now. Now, if I had a correctly sized pedestal, I could just plunk my thing on it in front of the backdrop and take a picture. Well, I don't have one, but I do have an ironing board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this felt and I'm going to drape it over the ironing board. The ironing board is a couple feet in front of the felt, so the loose felt will come down in a curve and go over the ironing board, so I will have a seamless background. So nothing will distract from my piece that I'm taking a picture of. You won't look at the picture and say, oh, she put it on her card table, that's odd. So I'm going to do that. I chose this darker felt because I didn't want a white background, because I didn't feel that this white decoration on here would show up in front of a white background. All right, I'm going to take the felt and I'm going to put it over our handy dandy ironing board. So notice I'm getting a nice smooth curve here, and you won't be able to see any defining lines between the back and what my little sculpture is sitting on. So there that is, and then I can put my thing on it. Now notice I have a nice contrast between the backdrop and my piece. I think that's pretty important. I am taking my photo lights, and one good thing about these is they come with this handy diffusing screen on, so you can, they're pretty easy to place. I usually put one on each side at about a 45-degree angle. Again, that's something that you can play with and take several pictures. It doesn't cost anything because we're just playing with pictures, pixels, and look at it on your computer. Only you can decide what is the best angle for your work. I'm going to take several pictures of this from different angles. Now, we generally tend to think of taking our thing square on, flat, like a passport picture. To me, that doesn't show the dimensionality as well as taking it at a slight angle and also at a slight angle down so you can see that it is 3D. But again, I can move my tripod and I can move my camera around to take different shots and evaluate them on my computer. I'm going to use a tripod and I'm going to put my camera on. Photobomb. I'm going to put my camera on it and use a timer so I'm not pressing on the photo button at the same time that it's taking a picture. Kestrel Michaud has a really good blog post about different settings that you can use on your camera for this still photography, and I will include that information on the document that you will get. She's extremely good at sharing information in a clear and non-technical way. Here's the setup. This is what the camera sees. And we will I just have a 2-second timer set on mine, so I'm not jiggling the camera when I'm pressing the button. I'll take several different angles and look at them on my screen for final evaluation. Here are 2 different images from the same setup. You can see what a large difference even a small change in angle produces. On the left is a fairly straight-on view of the piece, and on the right is just a couple inches up, taken slightly down, and you can see how much more dimension you get. I still think these are a little bit funky, and I would reshoot it if I was going to enter it in the show, but just to show you that you want to take several different angles, and you have to decide what is the best angle for your piece. If you have larger or wider pieces, you can put your backdrop on the floor instead of a table. These pieces are about 7.5 feet tall for the tallest one. So this is fully 3.5 or 4 yards of white felt, and it is attached to the ceiling and smoothed down onto the floor. Of course, the minute you put anything on the floor, your chubbiest kitty will come along and photobomb you. Here's another set of larger cylinders. These are about 5.5 feet tall. They're in front of a commercially available cloth backdrop. You can see there is a little bit of wrinkling at the bottom, but it is a very good color. There are many, many colors of paper backdrops available, which work very, very well. However, they top out at about 48 inches wide. If you're making smaller work, you could think about using those as well. Here's another set of cylinders in front of a black felt background. Here's a detail shot. I don't mind that the back piece is slightly out of focus. It makes it look more dimensional. I had a large piece of linen that I painted for another project. It made an interesting background for some simple shapes. Same background, another set of cylinders. The slight downward camera angle gives them a little bit more life. I do restrict this type of colored background to very simple shapes to avoid distraction. Here's a pair of images to compare of the same piece. It's about 5.5 feet long. I took the picture on the right, and you can see I didn't really conquer the wrinkles in the background of my backdrop, so I gave it to a professional photographer who took the image on the left, which is nice and bright. However, he digitally removed the background, and I feel that it takes away from the three-dimensionality of the work. If I had to enter it in an exhibition again or use it for publication, I would have it reshot in front of a better background. I think that would be more effective. Details are even more important in three-dimensional work to show off the different angles that you can get from different views of the piece. Most exhibitions that accept three-dimensional work will allow you to put in more than one detail. Take advantage of this. These cylinders are attached to the wall. It's difficult to even see that they are dimensional until you look at the details. Okay, to recap what we've talked about, you want to choose a contrastingly colored, wrinkle-free backdrop for your work, and it has to be much larger so you don't catch any of the edges with your camera. Attach the top end to a vertical surface and drape the loose lower end over a horizontal surface. I like to use my ironing board because it's always handy and it's very adjustable as far as height goes, but you can use anything you like, including the floor for larger work. You want to put your camera on a tripod, use photo lights, and also set the timer on your camera so you're not jiggling it when you take the picture. Experiment with different angles when you shoot your work. Subtle changes in angles can make a big difference in the way your piece looks. Evaluate those images on a screen so you can see what they will look like to a juror. Only you can decide what makes your piece look the best. Pay attention to your detail shots. They're very, very important for three-dimensional work. Happy creating, everyone. Thanks for listening.